So we are 1, 2, 3, 6 lines from Y. It's on 26b. Vav, Hamad Beis. Yeah, everyone forgot it was Monday.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. Okay, so 26b, continuing about people that are invalid witnesses. So, Hahi Matana, there was a certain gift document that got 2 witnesses to sign. Chasimi Allah train Gazlanu. 2 robbers were the witnesses that signed on this document. So now, Savar of Papa Bar Shmuel, Rav Papa Bar Shmuel, La'achshura. He wanted to make it a kosher document. Why? The halo achrizin and alayhu. We just learned that you need a formal declaration in court to invalidate a witness. So, Amar le Rava, nehide be'inan achraza begazin de rabbanon, but begazin de raisa mi be'inan achraza. Yeah, you're right. You have to announce in Bezdin, in court, that someone's an invalid witness, but that's only if you're invalid rabbinically. But if the guy stole money biblically, so then you are invalid, even if you don't get a special announcement in Bezdin, and therefore these witnesses, if they were biblically thieves, then they are invalid to sign the document, and if they are rabbinically thieves, then they have to be announced in Bezdin first and foremost. We are 26b, towards the end, about 10 lines from the bottom. Right now we're at a stopping point. Simin Davar Arayos Ganav. New part. Top of the page. Right there. So Simin. So here. So now here's a bunch of cases of people that are invalid witnesses. So let's see. Davar V'arayos Ganav. So let's see what that means. Amar of Nachman. Rav Nachman says, Ochle Davar Acher Psulim L'Arayos. Someone who eats something else. Now, Davar Acher can refer to different things. In this case, Rashi is referring to people who accept money from, good morning, Steve, money from non-Jews. And Rashi says something interesting. It's a chil Hashem because you're showing that your own Jews can't take care of your poor people. So you have to go and accept money from a non-Jew. That's a chil Hashem. And that shows that really you'll take any money. And anything involving money, is going to be a problem of being a witness. So, Rav Nachman's Ochle Davar Acher, Psulim Le'edos. There could be some argue on this interpretation, but that's what Rashi says. Now he says, but he qualifies it. Hani mili befarhesia. Aval b'tzina lo. That's only if you take this money publicly. But if privately, then you're not invalid. Ubefarhesia, even when you take it publicly, namila arman elo de efshar le le'ezuni b'tzina. V'kam vaze nafshe befarhesia. Aval lo efshar le. So chiyusehu. It's only when you could get sustained from other places, and you still publicly take money from the non-Jews, meaning you could get sustained from other places. You have other money that's coming in, and you still decide to take money from the non-Jew. That shows that that's a certain level of a chil Hashem. However, if you have no money, and this is your only sustenance, then there's nothing wrong with that. We don't see that you're money hungry or that you like money because you have no other money and the guy happens to give you money. But if you could be sustained from other places, and yet you choose to publicly then accept money, so then it shows you'll take any money that comes your way. And in this case, it seems like it'll be some kind of chil Hashem. Oh, that's the first one. Amar of Nachman, hachoshed al harayos. You're suspect for committing different inappropriate acts. So now we don't know, but you're choshed al harayos. So if you're suspected to having different illicit relations, so you're actually kosher le'edos. That you are kosher le'edos. Why? Because we're going to see you need a Rasha de Chamas. Chamas is thievery. You need a Rasha who is specifically a wicked person when it comes to money to be invalid for testifying. But a guy happens to do an Avera, so he could still be a good witness. So, and we're going to see really two opinions about it on the next page, but that's how we're going right now. So, Amar of Sheshas, Ani Mar says, Ani Mari Arbayin Bekase V'Kasher. So now what he's saying is a person can get 40 lashes and is going to be valid, meaning nowadays and when he lived, you can't give the death penalty anymore. However, rabbis could still give lashes. So so when they find immoral acts like this that are terrible for a huge breach in society, they're allowed to give lashes even when there's no death penalty. So Rosh Hashanah responds, this guy who we're thinking commits illicit relations with people, he's going to have 40 lashes on his shoulder, and you're going to allow him to be a witness? How could that be? So Rosh Hashanah argues honor of Nachman. Omar Rava, Umode, we're going to see later, it's going to be Rava and Abai going to have a machlokas, and we'll see who the halakha is like. Amar Rava, Umode Rav Nachman will agree le'inyan edus isha shehu pasal. When it comes to testifying about a woman, this person is invalid. Now, there could be two cases about a woman. You're testifying that she was divorced, or you're testifying that she's married. So for sure, if you're testifying that she was divorced, you're for sure invalid because you're the guy that we suspect has illicit relations with people, and you're coming and saying, yeah, she's divorced. So you have your eyes on the prize, and therefore you are not allowed to testify. So Amar Ravina v'Tamer Rav Papa lo Amar Elala Fuke Aval Iyule Leislamba. To say she's prohibited to you, like what's wrong with that? We're not going to assume you're going to lie because you're testifying that she was married to another man. So, but to say she was divorced, that you're not allowed to do. Says the Gemara Pshita. Yeah, that's obvious. I mean, why should we not allow you to testify about a woman who's married to another guy? That's fine. Ma'hu de Tema ha'adifale. This is very interesting. This guy who's suspect on illicit relations, dichsiv mayim genuvim yimtaku. Stolen waters are always more sweet. Meaning, you're going to want the lady more once she's married. That would be a reason to not allow you to be a witness. Kamash Malon, we don't say that. Dekama dekaima hacha shchichale. Dekama dekaima hacha shchichale. What does that mean? What? Right. Oh, meaning when you have these two things at hand, these two values, not really a value, but stolen waters are more sweet, or the woman who's readily available. So the novelty here is you would have thought stolen waters are better, and you should not allow him to testify to say that she's married to somebody. We don't say that. Rather, we say the more readily available she is, the more the guy's going to want her, and therefore only in the case where she's divorced, where you're testifying on her divorce, are you invalid. The Amar of Nachman, Gun of Nisan, the Gun of Tishrei. So these are the 2 months where you're cutting the crops and you're collecting the crops. So if a guy steals in those 2 months, lo shmei ganav, he's not a robber. Sounds like you can do whatever you want in those 2 months. No. Honey mili be'aris, if you're a sharecropper, so you're getting a percentage of the field. Vidavar muat, ubedavar shenigram malachto. So now, the Torah says that a regular worker is allowed to take some of the fruits, some of the food of the crop that he's working on. There's different halachas about it. Once it's finished, you can take a few grapes off the vineyard, and that's not considered stealing. That's a regular worker. A sharecropper thinks he's like a regular worker, even though he's not. So he thinks that he's also allowed to take these things. So therefore, in these cases, we don't assume he's like a bad guy. We assume it's what we call his moreh heter. He allows himself, he thinks he's like a regular worker, so therefore he takes a little bit of food at the end like a regular worker would. But we don't assume him to be stealing. We assume that he thinks he's like a regular worker, and therefore we're still going to allow him to be a witness. Ichrei de Rav Zvid. So a sharecropper of Rav Zvid. I think, right? A farm what?
Farm labor.
A farm labor of Rav Zvid. So Chad Ganav Kabadis Are Upasli. One guy stole a kav, a measurement of barley, and he invalidated him. The Chad Ganav Kibure Da'ahini Upasli. And one stole a measurement of kibura. What's kibura? Dates.
Cluster of dates.
And he invalidated him. Okay. So is that because he argued on this? These weren't sharecroppers. These were just farmers.
Although these.
It just shut off on its own. You can hear me? Charles, you can hear me?
Yeah, this wouldn't unmute. Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, we lost you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Okay, so these people, they were buried someone on the first day of Yom Tov, Shalat Seres. So what happened? That's not allowed. So Shamtinu Rav Papa Upastinu Le'edus. He excommunicated them and he invalidated them to be witnesses. Vakshirinhu Rav Huna Rav Shua. Rav Huna, son of Rav Shua, he reinstated them. So Amar Le Rav Papa B'Harishayim Ninhu. They violated Yom Tov. You can't do that. They're called Rishayim. So Rav Huna says, no, Sabri Mitzvah Ka'avdi. They were thinking, they rationalized that they're doing a mitzvah, they're burying someone. And that you excommunicated them, they thought, well, they're doing a mitzvah, but it was on Yom Tov, so maybe they need some atonement. And that's why you excommunicated them. Sabri Kapara Kavdi L'Rabbanan, but really, they were just rationalizing, and therefore we're not going to invalidate them. Yeah. Sounds like even after they were excommunicated, they still did it again. So to that he says, no, that's because they thought that the excommunication was just because of atonement, but not because they did something so wrong, and therefore you should not, and therefore we're going to reinstate them to be valid witnesses. Okay, Itmar. Eid Zomei. We know there's something called Hazama in the Torah, where you have not just two witnesses come and argue with two witnesses. That's called Hachasha, where you deny, you falsify. But here is a special parsha that you say that there's no way they could have been there for the testimony. So it's not just, Reuven, Shimon come and say the guy's guilty, and you say, no, the guy's innocent. That's not Adam Zoman. That's just regular, two cases of witnesses arguing with each other. But rather, it's you say Reuven and Shimon, they could not have testified. They weren't even there. So let's say now an Eid Zomim comes in Nisan. He comes in April time to testify. In Tishrei, he's found to be an Eid Zomim. So what do? From when do you invalidate him? From Tishrei and forward. So in April he testifies. September he becomes invalid. Now, is he invalid going back for all his testimonies in between? You retroactively invalidate him, or only from this point forward? Eid Zomim. Abai Amar Lemafreyahu Nifsal. Abai holds that what? Retroactively, you are invalid. Rava Amar Mikano Lahavu Nifsal. Rava says no. Only from this point forward are you an invalid witness. So now, Abai Amar Lemafreyahu Nifsal Me'idna Da'asid Rashahu the Torah Amra Al Teishas Yadcha Im Rasha Al Teishas Rasha Eid. Abai says from the moment he testified, he was invalid. He was a Rasha. Because now that he's found to be an Eid Zomim, a false witness, so that means that from the moment he testified, he was considered a Rasha, and a Rasha can't be a witness. Rava Amar, it sounds like a buyer right now, is a very loose definition of a Rasha. Someone who goes against the Torah doesn't seem to have too many qualifications. Rava says no. Rava Amar Mikanu Lahabahu Nifsal. Why? So Eid Zomim Chidushu. An Eid Zomim is a tremendous novelty. Why? Mai Chazis the Samachta Honey, Samucha Honey. Logically, if not for the Torah saying, what would you have thought? Two guys say Reuven killed Shimon, right? And then two guys walk in and say, you two were with us in New York when Reuven killed Shimon in California. You have no idea that this happened. So without the Torah stating the law, what would you have said? 2 versus 2. I don't know, cancel it out. But you don't go and kill the first two, because now the next two come in and say that they're false witnesses. That's called a chiddush. That's a novelty. Novelty is something, it defies logic in a certain sense, right? So Rabbi says the whole thing is a novelty. Therefore, what we often say when you have a big novelty, ein lecha bo ella mishas chidusho. If it's a novelty, we're only going to go from when the novelty happened. Meaning, so if in September they're found to be an Eid Zomim, it's already such a big novelty that we're going to go only from this point onward. We don't go back. In general, whenever you have a novelty in the Torah, a pasuk adding something else, you always limit it as much as you could and expand the novelty. Because since it's such a novelty already, who says that we could expand it anywhere past a certain limit? It's a novelty, so it's going to be very limited. So Rava says it's already an Eid Zomim is such a. Now, does he argue by every other case? Does he agree to Abaye? Only Eid Zomim, he says, is because it sounds like only Eid Zomim. This is a novelty, but let's say another case. Not the guy was a false witness. The guy did other Averas. So maybe he would agree that retroactively he's invalid. Oh. Just in this case. So now, okay, so that's one. So now, Rava Namika Abaye Svirle. Maybe really Rava actually agrees to Abaye, others say. And really, you go back. You go back and you invalidate him. Umay tam kamer mikan haba. That sounds like biblically. But Rava ended up saying that you only invalidate him from this point onward. Not because he disagrees with Abaye. He agrees with Abaye. If he agrees with Abaye, so why does he say only from September and onward are you invalid witness? Because mishum pseida de lekuchos. What's going to happen for all the fields that he signed on and testified between April and September? People are going to lose their fields. So Rava said because of that, that's much more of a rabbinic logic. Because of that, we don't want people to lose all their fields. Therefore, we're not going to falsify him retroactively, only going forward. So now, so my Beinai, at the end of the day, Rava holds from September onward he's invalid. Retroactively, we do not invalidate him, either because it's like a biblical logic that it's already such a novelty, we're not going to extend it retroactively. It's only going to go from this point onward. Or it's because we don't want people to lose out their fields. What's the difference? Either way, he's only invalid from this point onward. So, Mai Beinayu Beinayu, let's say Dasidu Beitrei Bechad. It's an interesting case. So you have two witnesses come in and they falsify. So Reuben brings two witnesses that Shimon killed somebody. So now Shimon brings in four witnesses, two for each one of Reuben's witnesses. So the Gemara is saying, at least according to Rashi, that's no longer such a novelty. You have two witnesses for one guy, and you have two witnesses for one guy. The problem with this is that it's still a novelty, because at the end of the day, you have two stories against each other. So that's a little bit of a problem with Rashi. But you have two versus one witness, two versus one witness. It's not such a novelty. So in that case, because it's not such a novelty, so then if you go like the first reason, that the whole thing's such a novelty, in this case, and according to the first reason of Rava, he'll agree that you retroactively invalidate the witness. But if he holds to the second reason of we don't want people to lose out, he's still going to only go from this point onward and not retroactively. Inami de paslinhu begazlanusa, or if the way you invalidate the witnesses was not by saying let's say Adam Zoman, but you say that they were robbers. So if you say they're robbers, there's no novelty in that. A robber is a robber. So therefore, he will retroactively go and invalidate the witnesses according to the first logic, first reason of Rava. According to the second reason of Rava, that we never want people to lose out anything in the middle, even if they come now and say the guy's a robber, we're still to protect people's fields. We're not going to invalidate them retroactively. So Rava has two reasons. It sounds like two reasons that they give for Rava, and these are the two differences between those two reasons. Now, Lamer of Yirmiyah Difti, Avid Rav Papi Uvda, Kivase de Rava. Rav Papi the story came to him, and he acted like Rava. Mar Rav Ashi Amar, Hilchasa Kivase de Abaye. But he said the halakha is like Abaye, meaning by the case of an 8 zomin, do we invalidate him retroactively or only from this point forward? So Rav Papi acted like Rava. Mar Rav Ashi acted like Abaye. What do we do? Very famous line. The Hilchasa Kivase de Abaye, Biyal Kagam. It sounds like this comes up in at least 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So the halacha is always like Rava, except for these 6 cases that are referred to as Yal Kagam. Yal Kagam is an acronym for 6 different cases throughout Shas. So the Yud is Yeir Shlom Midas, it's a second of Metzia, but the Ayin, the second letter of the Ayin, Yal Kagam, is our case, 8 Zomin. And in that the case, we pass like Abaye, not like Rava, but keep in your back pocket that we always hold like Rava, except for these 6 cases, Yal Kagam. So, okay. Now, Mumar Ochel Nevelos. So you have a guy who goes against the Torah and he eats meat which is not kosher. Why does he do it? Not because he doesn't believe in the Torah, just because he has a big Yetzer Hara. He's a hungry guy. He likes this. There's a certain restaurant he likes, and he can't help himself. Yeah. That's just his desires. Okay, so it's definitely wrong. Now, is he valid? No. Divrei Kol Pasal. He's for sure invalid to be a witness because so Rashi says because he's doing it for money, because it's much cheaper. It's much cheaper than kosher meat, and therefore you're still considered a Russia for money. We're gonna see that we need a Russia for money. Now, let's say he does it lahachis. He does lahachis, meaning he just doesn't like that part of the Torah. That's his bar mitzvah parsha. They made him read it. He didn't want to read it. Now forever he hates it, and then his Rebbe made him read it, and like the whole thing brings back bad memories. I'm always gonna eat non-kosher meat. The guy says that's it. So now, that's called a mumar lahachis, doing it out of anger. He doesn't like that part of the Torah. So now, Abai Amar Pasal, he's not allowed to be a witness. Rav Amar Kasher, the only guy who can be a witness is so we'll see in a second. Abai Amar Pasal, why the Havale Russia? You're a Russia. The Rahman Amar Atesh Russia. The Torah says a Russia can't be a witness. The Rava Amar Kasher, why? Russia de Chamas Beinan. We need a Russia involving money, a monetary Russia. Then that guy can't be a witness, but a guy who just doesn't like that part of the Torah and eats meat, because out of anger. So he's not a good guy. Maybe you won't let your daughter marry him, but maybe, I don't know, but he can't be a witness. Okay, so now, yeah, al tesh Rosh aid, al tesh Hamas aid. You can't be a thief. Can't be a witness. Hamas here means thief. He can't be a witness. So now, elu gazlonin umoalin b'shvuos. The following are robbers. The following can't be witnesses: robbers and people that disobey their oaths. Now, oaths here is in the plural. Sounds like it's referring to two kinds of oaths. What are the two kinds of oaths? Ma'ilav, are we not talking about a case of echad shvua shav, just a false oath, the echad shvuas mammon, and one is referring to an oath regarding money. So, you see from here that a false oath means you testify that the table is a chair, something which is not true. That's called a false oath, a shvua shav. And yet you see you're not allowed to be a witness. But this is nothing to do with money. It has to do with something else. So you see Abai is right. So it says Rava, lo. Idi ve'idi shvuas mammon. They're both referring to monetary oaths. Umai shvuas. Why does it use the word oath in the plural? Shvuas d'alma. It's just talking about general oaths, meaning oaths of money, plural oaths of money, not two types of oaths, but many oaths of money. That's all. And therefore, you don't have a proof that the Bryce is against me. Okay. Meisvei, another Bryce. Al tesh Rosh aid, al tesh Chamas aid, elu gazlanim, malve rabios. The Bryce says a thief can't be a witness, and so people who steal or lend with interest cannot be a witness. What do you see clearly? The Bryce explicitly says that only a thief can't be a witness. Tiyufta the Abaye tiyufta. Abaye is knocked out. Double KO. Tiyufta the Abaye tiyufta. When you have one tiyufta, you can still get back up. But two tiyuftas, you're out. So now, says the Gemara, maybe this machlokas, Abaye and Rava, is actually, it preceded them. It's an earlier machlokas. Tanaim. Okay, so what's that machlokas? Says the Gemara, Eid Zomim Pasul L'chol Torah. So similar to what we had before. In Eid Zomim, this false witness, he's not allowed to testify for anything. L'chol Torah. Kula. That's the opinion of Rav Meir. Rav Meir says he cannot testify for anything in the Torah. So now, Rabbi Yossi Omer Beben Dvar Mamurim Shehuzam Bedinei Nefashos. Rabbi Yossi says it's only when he became an Eid Zomim for monetary matters. Aval Huzam Bedinei Mamanos, but if he became a false witness by Dinei Mamanos, so then Kasher Ladinei Nefashos. If you're a false witness when it came to monetary case, you're still allowed to be a witness for a capital punishment case. So Rav Meir says he can't be a witness for anything, and Rabbi Yossi says he's allowed to be a witness on a case that's lower than him. Meaning, if he was falsified on a monetary case, he can still be a witness on a capital punishment case. If he was falsified on a capital punishment case, then you cannot be a witness, not even for a monetary case. So that's a machlokas of Meir and Rabbi Yossi. So now says the Gemara, let's put the two machlokasim together. Name Abaye, who says you're a Rasha for everything, right? Anybody who's considered a Rasha can't be a witness. He holds like Rav Meir, who says Eid Zomim is Pasul L'chol Torah Kula. The Rava, who says only a thief can't be a witness, he's going to go like Rabbi Yossi. And Rabbi Yossi says he's going to go like Rabbi Yossi. Yeah, so Rashi explains that Abaye says, Abaye told us earlier that a guy who just eats things because he doesn't like that part of the Torah. Amumar Lahakas, that guy is invalid to be a witness. So Rashi says, even though all he's doing is something which is wrong between him and Hashem, but it's not wrong between him and someone else. And yet Abaye still invalidates him when it comes to matters between people, even though the Aveira he did is only between him and Hashem. So that's just like the opinion of Rav Meir. Rav Meir says that even someone who did something who was invalid in a monetary So this is similar to Rav Meir, who doesn't allow any kind of witness to testify. That's just like Abaye. They both agree that even though you did something which is wrong, let's say between you and Hashem, you still can't testify in terms of interpersonal matters. So that seems to side with Rav Meir, that even if you did something which is only in a monetary case you were found to be guilty, but you can't testify even in a capital punishment case. We're extra strict, we're extra stringent on you. Now, so that's the Gemara first things. Then the Gemara says no, maybe name a biker Meir Rabbi Yossi. So we say a biker of Meir the Amar Amrin and Mikula Lechumra. Abai is like Rav Meir because they both go from a lesser case to a more strict case. Abai says even somebody who just committed an aveira between him and Hashem can't testify even in interpersonal matters. And Rav Meir also says that even somebody in monetary matters cannot be a witness for capital punishment. V'Rava Damar Rabbi Yossi, and Rava is going to go like Rabbi Yossi. The Amar Michumra Lekul Arminan Mikul Lechumra Lo Arminan. Rava and Rabbi Yossi both go that we don't go from a more lenient case to a more strict case. Meaning, according to Rabbi Yossi, if you falsely testified in a monetary case, you could still be a witness in a capital punishment case. And Rava says, even though you committed very bad aveiras, but you could still be a witness in a monetary case. So they side with each other. Says the Gemara, no. Aliba de Rabbi Yossi, according to Rabbi Yossi, who allows someone who falsely testifies in a monetary case to be a witness in a capital punishment case, lo pligi. According to Rabbi Yossi, nobody argues, meaning Abaye is for sure not like Rabbi Yossi. However, ki pligi, where do they argue? They argue according to Rav Meir. That's where they argue. Abaye ki Rav Meir. Abaye goes like Rav Meir. Rava, what about Rava? Can Rava side with Rav Meir or no? Rava ad kan l'kamer Rav Meir. Rav Meir only said a statement. Hasan alagabe eid zomem demamon. Rav Meir only said his statement by an eid zomem of money. Why? Dira l'shamayim v'ra l'brios. Because in a case where you became a false witness for monetary cases, you committed two bad things. One, to Hashem, that you were a false witness, and two, to the person that you caused to lose money. So those are two strikes against you. Aval hacha, but Rava says, hacha dira l'shamayim v'ein ra l'brios lo. Rava says, in my case where let's say you ate these nevelas, you ate this bad meat. They're not kosher meat. So that's only bad between you and Hashem. But you didn't harm anybody. So not necessarily is Rava going to see eye to eye with Rav Meir. However, Abaye would see eye to eye with Rav Meir. And v'hilchasa kivase de Abaye. And the halacha in this case is going to be like Abaye. Like Abaye, that someone who eats the meat is going to be invalid?
Eats unslaughtered meat.
Right.
Where he is sinful to God, but not sinful to man. He
Right.
is not suspect committing the far more grievous sin of testifying falsely.
In this case, the halacha is like Abaye. Oh, okay. I was going to ask a question. We said before, halacha is always like Rava, except for 6 cases.
Right.
This is the 6th case, the mem. Mumar ochel nevelos. Okay, that's fine. Okay, good. Halacha is like Abaye. So now we say v'ha ususev. We said, but didn't we ask on Abaye? We totally knocked him out, right? We said that the Brisa explicitly stated that only a thief is invalid witness. We say, yeah, but hahi, Reb Yossi. Yeah, you're right. Abaye, I'll tell you, that's the opinion of Reb Yossi. Now that we found a Tana that has an opinion in this whole conversation, we'll say that's the opinion like Reb Yossi, but I can go like Reb Meir. So we say, okay, but the problem is, but the Havi Nami Reb Yossi, the halacha should be like Reb Yossi. Why? Reb Meir for Reb Yossi, halacha Reb Yossi. So that brisa that says explicitly that only a thief could be a witness, Abai says that's Rabbi Yossi, but I hold like Rav Meir. Yeah, but the problem is, the rule is Rav Meir and Rabbi Yossi, the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. So that's a problem. So we can't go like Abai. We say no, shiny hasam, disasam lantana ki Rav Meir. The difference is that somewhere in this discussion, Rebbe, when he compiled the Mishnayos, he made an anonymous Mishnah like Rav Meir, which means he held that in this case, the halacha is like Rav Meir. Rebbe often made Mishnayos anonymous, even though they were only going like one opinion, but he made them anonymous because he felt the halacha is like them. So when you leave it anonymous, you'll think it's like the majority. So often the Mishnayos, when they have no opinion, the Gemara says, Stam Mishnah is Rav Meir. Now, when you have no name in the Mishnah, it's often Rav Meir. So why did he make it anonymous? Because Rebbe held the halacha was like the majority. Or he said halacha was like Rav Meir, but he wanted to make it anonymous, so it'll seem like it's the majority. So now we're going to go find where is this Mishnah. Oh, wow. It's late. Okay. The Heicham Sasamlan, where is this Mishnah? So now, Kihad Bar Chama. Now we have a long story. So now, Bar Chama went and killed somebody. Interesting. Katal Nafsha. So now, Amr le Reish Galusa, the Reish Galusa told him, the Rav Abba Bar Yaakov, Puk Ayin Ba, go take out his eyes. Puk Ayin Ba, go investigate. If he for sure killed somebody, so then go remove his eyes. That's going to be his punishment. Because there's no more capital punishment then already, and this is going to be his punishment because Bezdin can still give their own punishments. So Asu Trace Sahadi and Asahidu Bey the Vade Katal. Two witnesses came and say, Bar Chama for sure killed somebody. So Azdal Ihu, Bar Chama himself went and brought two witnesses, Isi Trace Sahadi and Asidu Bey Bechad. These two witnesses testified against one of the other witnesses that are coming against him. So now, what do these two witnesses say? For the one witness who's coming to say that he's guilty. So Chadamar Kamedi Di Ganov, Kaba de Chushla. One witness says, in front of me, he stole a measurement of Chushla, of barley. V'chadamar Kamedi Di Ganov, Kasa de Burtaya. He stole some kind of handle of a spear, a handle of a sword. Oh, so now two witnesses are coming to say that one of the witnesses is a robber. If you invalidate him, then you only have one witness and you're good to go. So Amrle, my daitech. So what are you thinking, Rav Meir? That Rav Meir is one who holds that as long as you're invalid for a monetary case, you're invalid for a capital punishment case. He says, but we know Rav Meir Rabbi Yossi, like Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yossi, and so halachas like Rabbi Yossi, not like Rav Meir. It's not going to help you here to tell me the guy's a ganav because he's not invalid for a capital punishment case. Because we go like Rabbi Yossi. The Rabbi Yossi, Amar Huzam B'dinei Mamanos, is Kasha L'dinei Nefashos. Rabbi Yossi says if you're found to be a false witness by a monetary case, you're still valid to be a witness in a capital punishment case. So comes Rav Papi, Amar Rav Papi, Hani Mili Heicha de Lo Sasam Lantana Ki Rav Meir. Halach is only like Rabbi Yossi when there's no Mishnah that anonymously is like Rav Meir's opinion. But Hacham, here, Rebbe HaKadosh made the Mishnayos, he wrote them down, so he made the Mishnah anonymously like Rav Meir. So we're bringing this all in to find this Mishnah. Which Mishnah? Sounds like Kermeir, Mimai. Which Mishnah is it? Either it's the following Mishnah, Kol Harai Ladun Dinei Nefashos, Rai Ladun Dinei Mamanos. If it's the following Mishnah in Nida, that, and later on in Sanhedrin, that says anybody who's fit to be a judge for capital cases can also be a judge for monetary cases. So who's this opinion like? Money. Ilema Rabbi Yossi. If it's Rabbi Yossi, ha'ika eid zomeim de mamon, de kasha ladine nefashos. So ha'ika eid zomeim de mamon is kasha ladine nefashos, who pasal ladine mamonos. So the problem is that Rabbi Yossi holds that if you are a eid zomeim, so then you are allowed to judge capital cases, but you can't judge monetary cases. And this Mishnah tells us anybody who's allowed to judge capital cases can judge monetary cases as well. So that's not going to be like So Rashi says that we're talking about a case where the guy's suspect of doing Averis, but as long as you're fitting to judge capital cases, you can judge monetary cases. But the problem is that for Rabbi Yossi, if you're a suspect of doing different things, then you cannot judge capital. Then you cannot judge. 1 second. Then you could judge capital cases.
Does it not follow Rabbi Meir, who contains a witness is found? The Zoman is in a civil case is disqualified for capital. Nobody
1 second. I got some. Anybody who's fit to be a judge for capital cases could be a judge for monetary cases. Yeah. So now, who's his opinion? Like, if it's like a Riosi, so then, meaning we found a case of an Eid Zomim. What happens? He is not fit for monetary cases, and yet he's not fit for monetary cases, but he's fit for capital cases. So this can't be Rabbi Yossi, because this says anybody who's fit for capital cases can judge monetary cases. It's not true. An Eid Zomim, a guy who's found to be an Eid Zomim, cannot judge monetary cases, and yet he could judge a capital punishment case. So says the Gemara, Elalav Rav Meir. So maybe it's Rav Meir, and then we would find ourselves an anonymous Mishnah like Rav Meir, and therefore the halacha is like him. Elalav Rav Meir. Says the Gemara, not so fast. Mimai dilma bepsula yuchsin kai. We're just talking about things that are invalid, like to be a witness, like if the guy's a mamzer or different things in the family that different relatives maybe, but not because anything to do with monetary cases or financial cases. So we're not talking about a case where you're a suspect of monetary, of different monetary things. We're talking about cases that maybe the guy's a convert, maybe he's a mamzer. So those people are kosher and dine kosher and dine mamanos, but they in monetary cases, but they cannot judge capital punishment, and that the Mishnah argues on, but nothing to do with our discussion. The ilote mahak, if you don't say the Mishnah is talking about people that are invalid in family cases, meaning you're invalid like a mamzer is, but not because you're invalid because you committed a monetary felony. So seifa the katani yesh ra'ilad and dine mamanos, but ain ra'ilad lead on dine nefashos. What's the case where you are allowed to judge monetary cases and you cannot judge capital cases? So, my ain roi, if you're talking about Eid Zomim, so why aren't you fitting to judge that case? In Eid Zomim, the idzam b'dinei nefashos, he's roi ladun dinei mamanos. V'hadivrei hakol pasul. If you're talking about people that are suspect for different monetary things, so the Mishnah says that you're allowed to, if you're fitting to judge monetary cases, you're not fitting to judge capital punishment. So, but an Eid Zomim who's found to be guilty in capital punishment, he can't judge any case, not even a monetary case. That everyone agrees to that. So, Ella, you must be talking about a psul yochsin kai, a special level of people who are invalid, which are either a ger or a mamzer or different kinds of people that are invalid. So, hachanami, the first part of the Mishnah, must be talking about a psul yochsin as well. So, back to the drawing board, where is the Mishnah that goes like Rav Meir? Very similar to our Mishnah earlier, but it's Mishnah Rosh Hashanah. It's also our Mishnah. People who roll the die, or they lend an interest, or they chase birds. The pigeon racers or pigeon decoyers. V'sochei shvius, do business in shvius. V'ha'avadim, and servants. Now that's not an our Mishnah, that's a Mishnah Rosh Hashanah. Avadim. Zeha klal kol edus she'ena isha ksheirala, av hein ein ksheirala. Any testimony that a woman is not kosher in, so they're also not kosher in. So now, who's this like? Money. Ilema Rabbi Yossi. If it's Rabbi Yossi, vayika edus b'dinei nefashos. We have cases of dinei nefashos she'ena isha ksheirala, v'hein ksheirala, that a woman can't testify, but they could testify. Like the case of the Eid Zomim. Eid Zomim for monetary cases could testify by capital punishment, even though a woman cannot testify by capital punishment. So this can't be if we're comparing all these people who are invalid to a woman, it can't be Rav Yossi. Elalav Rav Meir he. This Mishnah must be Rav Meir, who it must be Rav Meir who allows you to testify. Rav Meir who allows you to testify.
Discredited in civil cases, discredited even.
Right. So it must be Rav Meir, and if that's true, then the halacha is really like Rav Meir against Rabbi Yossi in this case, and that's going to go like Abaye, and therefore these people that, the two witnesses that came and said about one of the other witnesses that he's a robber, he can't testify for any case. That's like Rav Meir, that's like Abaye, and therefore what happened, he went, Kam Bar Chama, and Nashke Akare, he went and he gave him a big kiss to Rav Papi, the Kabli the Kargi the Kula Shani, and he said, I'll go to the king and get you off of taxes for the whole year, for the good you did for me, because you saved me from being guilty of killing somebody. The next part goes very, very fast, happens to me. So we'll try again tomorrow to catch up.